Being bipolar can be a curse and a blessing. Or, as I prefer to say, because I don't know about curses, a blessing in disguise. And I think that also applies to a lot of the difficulties that we go through in life, although they definitely don't always seem like them at the time. So, this is obviously my point of view, but I offer it as hope to people who might be struggling. So, if this is your first time to Bipolar Brilliance, welcome. I am really appreciative of the feedback that I've been getting, and I'm sort of attempting to start to address two issues or questions that have been brought up by different viewers of this channel recently. So basically, the first question that I got recently was about, I have another video about how I got Social Security disability and what was my process and things like that. And then I also had somebody reach out to me privately that is struggling with kind of coping with a close family member who is going through a pretty severe manic episode right now, and basically going to defend themselves in mental health court. And so it's related. So that's why I'm tying it in. So because I went through that before, my last video was a little bit lighthearted. I just took a DNA test because I was that chick that was really out of control, for lack of a better word, and I guess that's pretty accurate. And so I talked in different videos about how I was committed, sort of how I ended up in that position. I think I ended up, well, I got basically, a friend called the emergency department for me. This is just a little bit of backstory. I clearly needed psych, so I was strapped to the bed, I escaped, not escaped. I got my way out of the handcuffs. They found a facility to transfer me to, and my parents took me there. I was almost 30 years old, so I was a grown up. I had never been through this before. Never had I had a diagnosis of bipolar that was like maybe a year, not even a year old at that point. So I had gone off my meds. And just to prove to myself, I guess. So that's the one blessing in disguise, was that I learned that I did need meds. But so I transferred to an inpatient psych facility. I didn't like it because they took a lot of like freedoms away, and I had never been through that. And I do now understand that it is for the safety of the patients. But and so even though in my purview at that time, I was like going there voluntarily. Then when I wanted to leave, they would not allow me to, because I was, I can say this now. I was delusional. I was paranoid. Like, it's just, it's weird because I'm processing this on public media, basically, because in so many ways I felt that I still had my capacity for reasoning. I still was very much aware. I still have very clear memories, not 100%. I don't fully remember, just like I don't fully remember what I even did yesterday. So, but so in my mind, I was not manic, because I thought that manic meant that you no longer had a capacity for reasoning. And I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, so just putting that out there. But anyway, so they said, well, if you want to leave, then you're going to need to go defend yourself in court on Monday, which it was like a couple days away. And so I did that. And I remember like talking with a lot of the patients, some of them had been in and out a lot at the time. So they just like knew how things worked. And so I went there, I think even probably my parents brought me something nice to wear to court. I don't even remember that part, honestly. Maybe I was just wearing jeans. That was probably the nice thing. Whatever. And I remember standing there in front of the judge. I remember feeling like the public appointed attorney really wasn't trying to support or defend me. But in retrospect, maybe they were, because in retrospect, I am glad that I was committed. Um, because otherwise I probably would have left because I didn't want to be there, and who knows what would have happened. I would not have found stability as quickly as I did because I was like forced to be there. And I did get out early, but I was sentenced to 30 days, and but another thing that I remember, just from, zooming out a little from the perspective of like a family member, I remember escalating, I was getting upset. This is like, I don't remember the things that were said, but I remember this is where I can look back and be like, okay, I was delusional because I thought there was some sort of like conspiracy. And I'm not going to get into the details. I guess I do feel some shame still around that, like with the things that I was believing and, reading into the things around me and being very paranoid and thinking that it was something that it wasn't. And I remember like shouting and just really like, I've just kind of said it flippantly, like I really acted the fool in court. I was just really earnestly trying to make my case, and I basically did. I made my case all right because I was up there just flying off the handle, shouting. That's not what you want to do in court. And I remember I remember looking back, and my father had come there, and I remember the look. Like, a look can just say a million words. And it was just like, I don't even know how to, like, crushed, like seeing his grown daughter, just clearly unstable, like, maybe it was embarrassing, maybe it was confusion, it was hopelessness, it was like, what can I do? I've done all I can do. There was just so much like concern and empathy and like hopelessness and despair, and I don't know. I just remember like seeing that, and I empathize, because there really wasn't, there's only so much that a family or friend can do for somebody who is in the throes of a major mood disorder. And the best thing that they can do is just be there for them, and help them be taken care of by professionals that will help keep them safe until they are no longer in danger of intentionally or unintentionally harming themselves or some other people. So for the anybody who's seeing family members go through that, like, I guess that's what I can just suggest, is just to be there and be gentle, be very, very mindful of your speech. People can always be easily offended by language and tone, but especially in a heightened state. And the reason that I say that I have such clear, lucid memories from so much of that is probably because I was in such an escalated state of body and mind, like chemistry, and so on, that everything was rapid firing. And maybe the reason that I don't remember some of that court stuff super clearly is because a part of me wants to repress that. So, and I guess maybe I should have given a trigger warning prior to that. I'll probably put it in the description. Okay, so now the reason that this leads into somebody else asked about, well, what was your process for applying for Social Security disability, that sort of thing. For me, I guess, I talked about being committed ended up being a blessing in disguise because I wouldn't have stayed otherwise, and Lord knows what I would have done. I was drinking and smoking a ton of weed. I wasn't taking my pills as prescribed. I was kind of taking them willy-nilly. And I was getting more and more fearless and less logical. And, I was becoming reckless, and I really was a danger to myself and possibly others. So even though it was a very aversive experience in a lot of ways, being forcefully medicated, injected, all that kind of stuff, which I've talked about in other videos as well. A lot of that is in the Bipolar Brilliance playlist, which I'm thinking of breaking back out into Tales from the Psych Ward. But anyway, it got me to a point of, to sleep, to heal my brain enough, to calm down enough, to calm the adrenaline down enough to take the edge off of all of that, paranoia, so that I could reasonably then start to make the decisions, because the staff did offer to me to take medications per os, right? Orally, will you take these? Those options were given to me, and I was refusing a lot of them. And then I finally came around, and partially because I was just like, well, all right, well, this is the only way I'm going to hope to get out of here. And I wanted to get out. And I came around to realizing that I felt balanced and I felt content. And it might have not have been as crazy, thrilling. I don't like to use the word crazy in terms of actual mental illness, but what I mean is just it was a wild ride. I was having a lot of fun until it was too much. Until even I knew something was wrong. So, okay, I'm all over the place. But so that was the blessing in disguise of being committed, right? Held against my will in the psych joint. Okay. And I actually got out after 2.5 weeks. And I came home and continued to take meds on a schedule with an alarm, and I just magically kept up the not magically, it wasn't magic, it was also chemistry and behavior change, the schedule of regular sleep wake cycle, and I continued that, and and I mean, I had my ups and downs since then, but I went and within a year after that I finally completed my bachelor's degree, which had taken me 8-10 years on and off of school. So, so it worked keeping up with the regimen. And, okay. So now, shortly after that time, I think is when I got my Social Security disability. I'm going to have to look probably in my paperwork, which, spoiler alert, I also have ADHD, which I'm realizing is a confounding variable with some of my symptoms. So paperwork is not a forte of mine. Understatement of the year. And so I don't remember when I initially pinged Social Security to apply. But what I do remember is that they sent me a 14-page form, and my brain just couldn't even wrap itself around that. So it was just and I think they sent it a few times, and I just I would intend to do it, and I was just I can't, whoa, what, so with Social Security, the initial application date, which might have been back when I had my first, diagnosis and had to move back in with my parents, it might have been around then that, maybe somebody got that going. And then it was 9 months later, and after that point, basically, I had been in mental health court, so that was like on file somewhere, right? And I had lost not one, not two, but three jobs directly as a result of my mental state. And I think that would have been pretty darn easy to corroborate, if you will. So that was a lot of like documentation on file. And so, whereas a lot of people have the experience of they apply once for disability and just, I guess, immediately get rejected right off the bat, that was not the case with me. At some point, I basically got called in to do a mental health exam. And so I'm like, okay, I can drive to this location and get there. And because of the wonders of Haldol, I was always on time. Anyway, and so I went there, and also with like ADHD, if you, and maybe bipolar, I don't know, like if you have like a pressure on you, then it's like you can do a thing, right? So I don't think I ever filled out that form, or maybe I filled it out when I was there, but they were like, tell us why. I had to write some answers, and I can write, I'm pretty good with that stuff. And they were like, tell us how bipolar disorder has like adversely affected you. Like the kind of, by definition, a disability is something that, don't take this as the gospel. This is my consumer experience here, but it is like the inability to like when something is disabling, right, it is preventing you from carrying out activities of daily living. So that might be perhaps more if it were a physical impairment, that might be like dressing yourself. And that can also be, parts of mood disorder, right? Like if you're, for me, in my experience, sometimes like being super depressed, like, and neglecting, to wash my hair for weeks on end, or like, showering, things like that, right? Cleaning clothing. Those are all activities of daily living, cleaning the house to the extent that it is like safe, that you're not going to be sick being in the house. Keeping a job. And I had a long employment history. I even though I didn't have a college degree yet, I had like some good jobs in my 20s, and I was making good money. That was all demonstrable. That feeds into like how much of a disability payment you're going to get. And that also demonstrates that, I was able to do hard work, and then like I went, like I couldn't do work for a time. I had to drop out of school, a medical withdrawal. That was all documented, so there was a lot of, like I've said in other videos, like it kind of like went out real publicly, and so there are obviously, like, I'm sure that there are plenty of people that would be like, well, there's a lot of downsides to that. But there's a lot of upsides to it too, because basically once I went in there and they were like, okay, write about how this has affected you. And I was like, well, this one job, like I, had a manic episode. I had to, like miss, I was a performer and a director. I had to miss a show, like, and, I blah, like, blah, 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 like, and, then like, I resigned, like I quit the job 100%, and I didn't even remember quitting the job 100%. Like I thought I just resigned from a certain role, and then when I sort of stabilized, I came back to work, and it was like, no, you quit, in a fit of blind manic rage, so that was one job. And then another job I got, like I just was like still manic and having like these delusions of grandeur, and almost like, for me, when I'm manic, like I get sort of like obsessive compulsive about cleaning, so I just like I couldn't perform the job. So I think I got shit canned from that one after like 2 days, maybe, so that was No, that was an internship, but yeah, so that and I couldn't focus on the work. And then like I got a job like after I stabilized and had that one, while I was on meds and things like that. And then once I decided to stop taking meds and all that, like I ended up in the hospital and I didn't have the number to my employer. You don't get to keep your phone. And I was working as a coach at the time, like a fitness coach. And so I had like the number of, like the clientele that I was meeting with. So like I called them and to, like cancel sessions. And so I thought like I was good, but I don't think I ever contacted the employer. So when I got out of or not right away. And so, when I got out, I had missed like 3 weeks of work from being in the psych ward, and I showed up to work and they were like, yeah, we're going to have a meeting with you. You're fired due to absenteeism. And I was like, isn't that illegal? Because I was in the fucking hospital. And they were like, no, it's not. So that's kind of a side note. That company since got bought out by another one. It's probably going to be put out of business by another one. But so that happened as well. So I just wrote about that on this sheet of paper and, told them about how I had to drop out of school for a while, go on a medical withdrawal. I had to, I think I had, during the second phase and when I was hospitalized, like, I had parents in communication through my consent, with professors, because I was in 2 classes at the time. I was trying to graduate, and just like all the stress and mania and like hypomania escalating. I couldn't deal with that successfully. So I like negotiated incompletes so that I could finish the work once I stabilized. So I had a lot of, first of all, adverse consequences, but second of all, proof of a disability. So I was approved on the first go, and I got a beautiful check of back pay that was so needed, and didn't even begin to make up for the amount of money that, even if they had accepted it, which they didn't, but the money that my parents drained trying to help me, when everything first started and I didn't even have insurance coverage, and they wanted to switch up my meds every week, and each one was like $300 to fill. So, it's like, I don't know. Okay, this is kind of all over the place, but I'm just going to put it out there. And also noticing that I say, I don't know. That's like a dismissive pattern. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. Clearly, I've been through some ish. And so that's why I'm here to share that. My experience and strength and hope. What's the hope? Because it seems like maybe I just went down a rabbit hole of all the ish that I went through. Is that here now? I having Social Security disability allowed me, as a person with a severe mental illness and ADHD and SUD, substance use disorder, to stabilize. Being broke AF from not being able to work was a blessing in disguise, because it qualified me for Medicaid, because I was able, because at one point I didn't have insurance or prescription coverage. I was able to go to community mental health and go in and get my meds for free. And by the way, I had a huge aversion to needles, but I opted to go in once a month after I got out of the joint and stabilized. I opted to go in once a month and get an intramuscular injection of Haldol in my hip, because on some level, like, I knew that there could be a chance that I might either forget to take my meds regularly, or in a moment of not so good judgment, decide not to. And so it was like my higher self looking out for my lower self, or whatever, that doesn't know as well, to care for myself. And I did that and completed my bachelor's degree, and then I got into a really, really difficult program to get into, to become a doctor of physical therapy. They only accepted like 10% of the applicants. I ultimately resigned, failed, whatever, didn't do that, complete that, but I did successfully complete a lot of medical classes that still, like to this day, inform what I do as a health educator, what I do as a wellness coach, what I do here on this channel. It helped me to be an informed consumer, it just is, and so on and so forth. I eventually qualified for Medicare, which was a huge blessing. I see as a huge blessing, because that is still my insurance to this day. I pay for it myself now, and I'm going to be sad when the year comes that I am not eligible to do that anymore, because I've been off of disability for some years. I have since had some really good jobs. I attained my dream job, which didn't turn out to be my dream job, but like I did that. I became a mother, which was just always like my ultimate, not my ultimate dream, but like my be all end all in life, but like just, for the past 10 years, like that was just, I wanted to do that. And I did that. I didn't take medications during my pregnancy, and I was happy and stable. I got sober, like, I wouldn't have been able to go without meds without the recovery and sobriety. I'm kind of putting it all in different orders and so on and so forth. I should probably like write a novel about it. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and this is why I say also that I empathize, and I know this is easy to say, but it's okay to not be okay. I personally choose to believe that everything happens for a reason, and I might not know why now or ever. That might be for my higher self spirit to understand. And that also feels like some BS when you're going through it. Like, oh yeah, why is this happening? Why do these horrible things happen in the world? I don't know. I don't think that that God wants humans to do mean things. I don't think that like the purest light and good wants people to suffer. But I think that this life, I'm getting a little esoteric here now, I'm waxing philosophical, but I believe, it is my personal spiritual belief, that this is like planet Earth school. And so the souls that inhabit these bodies, that animate these bodies, we choose lessons, we choose our journey, we choose challenges and struggles and relationships. We have a purpose, and the best that we can do is be resilient and be strong through it, and always just remember that there is a light of goodness and truth and hope and love inside of all of us. And we're all here playing some kind of role. And we don't have to there's no way for us to really understand it. But we can sometimes look back on things, or even at the moment have like a little okay, we can see something good about it. We can certainly sometimes when I look back, I can say, well, I can choose to say, I am glad that all that BS happened, because in a lot of ways it allowed me to be where I am right now. I personally, Rosemary Lowry, did not choose this, but my higher self obviously chose this. So it is what it is, and all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. So I've gone on so long that my mouth is dry and I'm almost at the 30-minute mark. So please take care of yourselves first. Your own oxygen mask goes on first. And take care of each other. Be there for each other. Be well. Stay blessed. And thanks for the comments. And I really look forward to hearing what you think about this. You can always message me privately if you're not comfortable in the group chat here below. You can reach me at bipolirbrilliancecoaching@gmail.com. Follow me on my social media. Check out the other playlists, and we will talk again soon. Bye.